We've all got them, skills that we know we can monetize. How are you going to take your side hustle and turn it into an empire? Today on Huge Profits. So creating a side hustle is something that most people, especially in today's culture, really look at as their gateway to freedom. Mm-hmm. But it really is based on hustle. It's based on, your steam and your effort. But what I find that really makes those things sing for those who are able to actually make it happen are aligning that with things that not only are you good at, but things that you actually love to do.
Yeah.
And when so many people do things just to make money, I find for the most part, it's kind of soul stealing. And we want to make sure that people not only achieve wealth and all of those other elements that come along with the trappings of worldly success, but that they get fulfillment too. Mm-hmm. And so kind of aligning those two things are something that, in my mind, was one of the greatest gifts I was ever given, because my skill sets and my passions kind of aligned. And because I was able to pursue those, I was able to change a lot of lives, and in so doing, change my own life.
With the advent of so many different platforms, so many different ways that people can be successful, whether it's AI, social media, podcasting, different forms of guerrilla marketing, so many different ways of people out there educating people on how to learn how to do different things. Success has been democratized in a way that's never really been available before. And that's why I think we're living in the golden age of side hustles. Everyone has a side hustle. And I love the point that you made, is that a lot of times the people I've seen be successful have a job that they're good at, but they do something on the side they really love.
Yep.
Right? And I think one of the most important things that we can talk about today is, what the promise that you made is, how do you take these side hustles and turn them into a kingdom? Into an empire? How do you take these side hustles and make it your primary thing, right?
Yeah.
Because you want to have your primary job or your primary investment. Whether, look, you're a house flipper and you're doing great at it, but now your side hustle is going to maybe do an apartment building.
Yep.
Or you're going to do a little retail thing. And then eventually it ossifies into where that's the core of what it is you do. And that's been the truth in my life too. And I know you've got a ton of side hustles.
Yep.
I mean, you're the king of the side hustles, right?
Well, I could be, I'm at least in line for the throne, let's call it.
Right. You're like, what is it, Prince Harry?
Well, I'm the guy who doesn't know how to quit. I'd like to think a little more like William, but whatever. I'll take the reference. It doesn't matter. As long as I'm in the lineage, I'll take it.
That's it.
So here's the point, is that side hustles to me are all about wanting and kind of having it all. So many people are out there, and what they do is they think, well, no, I define myself by my career. This is who I am. This is my identity, right? So they forget the fact that we're all multifaceted, right? Even on this, little set, we're sitting here and we're having fun and we're breaking into different aspects of our personality. And in some environments, we are very serious. In some environments, we are very stoic. We're very methodical. We're very, business oriented. We're outcome driven. We're bottom line thinkers. But in other areas, we're really creative and we're able to really go off and have a great time and have fun with it.
Well, candidly, that's why I'm doing this side hustle with you on this podcast, because I fully intend for this to be an empire.
Well, and honestly, I wouldn't be doing it if it wasn't for you.
Right.
You've already got an empire podcasting and, helping people find, let's say, the most important aspect of their journey in this world. And so for me, this was just a way for me to reach a broader audience, and it was a way for me to be able to start to diversify the message, because we've got so many other things that we are actually doing that are side hustles that have almost become empires in their own. And it's one of the things that I've coined is the term, I want to be a hat trick billionaire.
Oh, right? That's great.
I want to be a billionaire in 3 separate industries. And so I really think that that's probably me limiting myself, because I've got 4 or 5 businesses that should be billion-dollar businesses over the next 5, 7, 10 years.
Yeah.
And, even at this late stage of career, side hustles, because I don't allow my passions to die, they're really not even side hustles per se. They're other activities that I want to do. But I know so many people are looking for that first side hustle. So for me, really aligning with your skill sets and the things that you like to do, that's the key catalyst. Because if it's a side hustle and you're only doing it because somebody on TikTok said that, hey, you can plug in this into the algorithm and all of a sudden, this landing page, and now
you could go start reselling stuff on Amazon. And I mean, sure, some people are successful at that, but some, like you said, that can be soul stealing. And now here's the thing that I've learned about side hustles, right? And especially in relation to building profits and wealth. When you're doing a side hustle, you don't want to build yourself another job.
No, and that's what so many people do.
Yeah, look, if you want another job, just go get another job. But
And
do
it's-
something that has some legs, right?
Well, and also that actually leads to the lifestyle that you want, right?
Exactly.
The idea is it's not just money and now you're just giving up more of your life and more of your free time and let's say more of your personal discretion. You want to make it so that it's something that's going to liberate you.
Right.
And one of the reasons that we love commercial real estate so much is because that has been a passive investment. Once you get it set, it runs income streams for 5, 10, 15, 20 years or longer.
Yep.
So that was a great side hustle for me. And I had an active job. I was working 40, 50, 60 hours a week. I was selling. I was, closing deals. I had a great customer base. And then eventually I was able to create enough passive income through that side hustle that it replaced my income. And at that point, I was at liberty to take what was my side hustle and make it my main empire that I built upon.
That's a great point, because I think that's one of the things that most people will struggle with in their side hustles and turning it into an empire, or even having it become their primary source of income, is how do you know when it's an appropriate time to say, look, this has been successful enough now to where I'm going to make this my main focus. And I'm going to take that big risk and saying, I'm quitting the job that I don't like. So let's just say, and I've seen so many people come through the commercial academy do that exact same thing, where they come in and they're a doctor, they're an electrician, they're this, that, or the other thing. They go in, they learn from you how to start investing in real estate, and that becomes within 2 or 3 years the only thing they do. And they no longer like, if I ever have to run one more conduit, I'll snap.
Yeah,
But
if I drill one more filling, I'm out of here.
Right. So how do you know when it's an appropriate time to take your side hustle and make it your main hustle?
Yeah. Well, I've always basically used just hard, cold math.
Okay.
Right? It says, look, if as soon as you can liberate yourself from the burden of providing for the family, the people, and the responsibilities that you've set up beforehand, as soon as you're at liberty to support that, then you are at discretion to make the choice to, let's say, unify your efforts towards one outcome. But realistically for me, what ended up happening was, I was doing great in my career and things were growing and things were working. And I started to dollar cost average my time. I started putting 1 or 2 hours a week into figuring out what that side hustle would be. So I started attending those real estate investment association things. I spent some time learning. I drive neighborhoods. I try and figure out, how the deal might pencil. So by putting that time in, what eventually ended up happening was I started to build that base. I spent the time, just a little bit. And again, I always really want to make sure that everybody gets this, that it needs to be on the side. But one of the reasons why a lot of people don't ever start it is because their spouses or the people that rely upon them are scared that if they try something and fail and they've left behind this primary stream of income, that the whole McGill is going to come apart at the seams.
Yep.
And we can't have that. We got to make sure that people are...
One of my side hustles is reseaming McGill's, though, so...
Right. Well, and honestly, if you get that right, you are set for life.
Right. But I love what you said there, is that a lot of times I think the thing that prevents people from making it their full-time thing is the fear that maybe imposter syndrome. Like, hey, I got this thing going. It's working really well. But if I really do go out on the line and I really make this my main thing, it's all going to collapse on me. And that's a big fear. And I think that prevents a lot of people from making that switch.
Well, there's actually one other aspect of it that I think really sets up. And this is what I think so few people are willing to acknowledge. When they take that leap and they go for it with their side hustle, if it doesn't work out, now they got nothing to dream about, right? So they failed, and now they have nothing that they can aspire to. So it's almost better to keep it at arm's length in the distance where, hey, I'm going to get there. When the time comes, it's ready. But I got to tell you, everybody fails. Everybody has their setbacks. Everybody has their things that they planned on that didn't work out, or the person that was going to invest in them that all of a sudden, I was going to give you the money, but I can't. The reality is you will figure it out. It's iterative. You're never going to get it all done in one fell swoop. So have the confidence to act on your dreams or to build on your side hustle, because I'll tell you what, if you're part of someone else's dream and someone else's program, they're never going to pay you what you're worth. But if you can get your own side hustle working, now you have the ability to decide to, when it's time to put in extra effort, when it's time to let off the gas.
Yeah. I got to admit, like, I've bought lottery tickets before, like when the Mega Millions gets to $400 million, like, and then you get the ticket and then you go home and the next morning you could look at the numbers, but you're like, I'm not going to look at it for one more day because it's going to be real easy to go to bed tonight imagining what I'm going to do with that $400 million.
Yeah, that's right. It's true.
And that's exactly right. You're kind of you're either delaying the fear of failure, but then you're keeping that hopeful
That
window
spark,
open,
yeah,
that spark open. And that's one of the things that I found, look, I've done a lot of side hustles in my life.
sure.
And primarily that's what I do is side hustles at this point. And I've worked real hard to be this lazy. Okay.
For sure. And you've done a great job at it.
One of the things that I found is that have a lot of them. Do a lot of things that you like.
Yeah.
Find different ways to monetize
limits.
what you're good at, right? So what are some of the side hustles that you've done? Because I know, you started out in sales, you started out in technology, and real estate was a side hustle. And eventually real estate legitimately became an empire for you.
Yeah.
But you didn't rest on your laurels. You still have all these side hustles. What kind of side hustles are you investing in your time and your profits in?
Well, so just in that one little category of commercial real estate, so you're right, commercial real estate, when I got started, I was in computer manufacturing and distribution, and that was going great.
Yep.
And we were really growing, and we had all sorts of contracts with government and education and military. And this was when the U.S. was really starting to outfit themselves for personal computing. And then eventually what happened was I was paying so much in tax that I decided that, I can't really get ahead, so I need to get a tax shelter.
Okay.
And that was kind of one of the things that pointed to commercial real estate for me. Now, what I thought was a lot of money back then was really not a lot of money. And the trajectory of where it was going was the thing that scared me. I'm like, boy, I can't pay $50,000 a year in taxes. That $50,000 would be better off spent somewhere else. So I found this.
Yeah.
But that eventually led to the side hustle of, I had other people who were interested, like, hey, Scott, you're doing really good in commercial real estate. Would you show me what that looks like? I'm like, well, yeah, I'd love to. So eventually it became a book.
Yep.
And that book became a course. And that course became a series of, tapes, and then eventually DVDs, and then eventually it's online and people can just download it. So it's not only the side hustle of doing it, but then it's the side hustle of letting people get educated from it. Mm-hmm. And then you get to continue to live off of that story. And then I started to break down all of the, let's say, systems that I used to make that successful. So I developed a software program.
Yeah.
And that software program allowed people to basically underwrite using Scott's model, and the safety hatches that I had put in and the pressure relief valves that we would put in that allowed them to do that. So what became, really I'm trying to find a side hustle.
You made a side hustle out of your side hustle.
And it kept on going. And then what happened was, people started to recognize that I had specific discipline and I had insights and I had relationships. So they started bringing me deals. And so then I started consulting with them. And now I consult for equity. Like I'll get involved in your deal, but I need this in order to, warrant the time. And I'm going to make those connections. And so then other side hustles came out of that because people saw my success and my ability to finance different things. I got into films, right? I work with, my great partner, Charles Moore, putting together internationally distributed films through Sony Pictures.
I've seen some of those films. You guys do a great job.
One of the things that's really been instrumental for us is getting outside of the studio system and really working in the feature film industry to be able to create the type of content that we know that people want that don't necessarily make it in a studio model.
Yep.
Now, because of that, what's happened is we've developed all kinds of skill sets. And so many people are out there. And the reason I got involved in real estate in the first place, honestly, was for that side hustle.
Right.
I wanted to be a filmmaker. I was involved in theater. I did all kinds of acting. We were in music. We did all kinds of stuff. And I said, well, look, what's it going to take? And I saw the convergence of digital filmmaking, what I was doing, and then how the scale of the economics was changing. And today with side hustles, with AI and with all of the other tools that are available to you, 15, 20, 30 years ago, you had offices, you had staff, you had all these employees. So it was a real pain in the ass to go out there and really build a side hustle. Today, all of that stuff is outsourced. It's so much more streamlined than it ever was. And now we have the ability to continue to fund these types of things. But the catalyst was so that I could have excess capital to invest in becoming a filmmaker.
So that's a good point. And I think that's one of the things that a lot of people who have side hustles will struggle with is finding the balance between, okay, look, when you have a side hustle, obviously you're doing it to generate more revenue, more income, right? Sometimes,
Sometimes it could be passion, right?
Well, it could be passion, but if it's free, you just do it in the comfort of your own house. You're not going to put your ass out there for it, right?
For sure.
But if you're doing it as a side hustle, by definition, you're trying to generate some more revenue.
For sure.
What's a good percentage on a side hustle that someone could say reinvest in the side hustle to continue to grow it versus taking it, putting some in your pocket and supplementing your regular income? How do you find that balance between reinvestment and eating.
Yeah. So I think it's the 80-20 rule. If you can put 80% of your time into your primary activity, sustaining you and your family, right? And we're talking capital, we're talking credit risk, we're talking about time, we're talking about education. Spend 80% getting better at what's paying the bills today, and 20% building that side hustle empire. So again, we've all got 168 hours a week. What are you going to do with that? I'm not saying that you got to go ahead and throw 32 hours into it a week, but if you can put some fractionalized amount in it, it's going to start to produce the fruits of your labor in a way that says, I can now begin to move that needle closer to that 50-50 distribution. And as soon as you get over that, you crest over that 50-50 hump, you're probably going to leave whatever it was that no longer serves your soul.
I found that. Here's one of the challenges that I found in side hustles, right? You get to that 50-50 point, right? Let's say, just for easy math, you're making $200,000 at one job and your side hustle is now bringing in $200,000.
Yep.
Which means you got $400,000.
Yep.
Which means, okay, now I'm going to go back down to $200,000. So I found myself in the same position, but maybe in a more beautifully outfitted jail cell, right?
Yeah, sure.
So now you've created maybe a more flexible job, but it's still a job. The point was to have more revenue, but when you go from that 50-50, you got to then say, okay, I'm going all in, and now I got to make the side hustle get up to 400, right? So how do you know when it's the right time to jump ship, get off of the thing you're doing, and go full time on the side hustle?
Well, if your side hustle is going to be commercial real estate, which I'm going to advocate, many of you incorporate that as at least one of your side hustles, then what happens is you've done the job, you bought the asset, you forced the appreciation, you've created the income stream, and now what's going to happen is you're going to use either your proceeds of refinance or sale to scale.
Okay.
And you're going to diversify by getting into multiple investments that are going to deliver passive income. So you remember, in commercial real estate, it's not a 40, 50, 60-hour a week job. There's nothing to do.
Right.
If you want to spend 60 hours a week doing commercial real estate, I mean, you're really putting yourself out there.
Yeah.
Right? Every deal moves at a much more manageable pace. You don't have to get in. It's not a fire sale. You're not competing against 75 other investors. These deals are ripe for the taking, especially if you're going for off-market stuff, which is what we always advocate, right? If it's on market and it's listed by a broker, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But when you get to people who have reasons why they're looking to sell, but no one has motivated them to list that asset, now you've got that, that unique negotiating window where you can serve their needs because you're developing a personal relationship without being buffered by a third-party intermediary that's not going to get you the answers that you want to structure it the way that you need.
Yeah.
So commercial real estate as a side hustle, if you've got $200,000 a year in income that it's throwing off, if you capitalize that could be, easily $4, $5, $6 million. And if you've added that value, your ability to pull that out, like we talked about in other episodes, and we'll talk about in this one, is that allows you to pull that capital out in loan proceeds, which means it's not tax deferred, it's tax free.
Right.
You get your money today, it's going to get paid back by your tenants, and you get to put it into the marketplace at today's dollars. And the time value of money is always working against you.
Sure.
Things are going to be more expensive in the future. So if you invest now, you're doing better. It's tax-free, and it's a huge chunk of capital that's probably bigger than you've ever been able to assemble on your own through savings.
Right.
Because it doesn't really work through savings.
Yeah, you don't get rich through savings, you get rich through investing.
And then compounding that investment.
So I know that, and I personally met dozens of these individuals, in your Diamond Inner Circle and in the elite coaching programs that you have, where they have come to you as whatever profession or career they're in, and commercial real estate was a side hustle. Like, I heard about the Scott Shield guy. I've heard about this commercial academy thing. I went there. I went to a couple events. You know what? Oh, I actually bought a property. That's pretty good. I bought a second one. Oh, I met a dude over here, and we partnered on this thing. And soon as you know it, that's what they do full time. So what are some of those stories that you've experienced from your students on how they made that transition from whatever it is profession they were in to being a full-time real estate investor?
Well, there's so many of them. It is literally, there's 8 million stories in the naked city, and thankfully we're wearing clothes today, so let's dig into one
At least from the waist up.
Well, we're doing our best, right? So
I'm Porky Pigging it over here.
I like it. Let's do this. Let's talk about a couple of the, different case studies that are out there. So there's a guy, and he's a great friend, he's a great colleague, and he, works and helps educate people. And he still holds the record in the Commercial Academy, the smallest deal ever done.
I didn't think you were going to say deal.
Yep, it was the smallest deal he's ever done. And so what he ended up doing was he bought something that was called, it was Liberty Tax Service. And it was this, it was the Statue of Liberty drop off, and you would drop your taxes off, and it was on a little parcel.
I know those.
And they carved it off, and it was, I think it was 100 square feet.
Okay.
And he bought it. He bought the Liberty Tax drop off lease.
Okay.
Today, he's got 4 funds with over $300 million in deployed capital,
Jeez.
$600 million in assets under management. And he was sleeping on his buddy's couch, and he talks about how he got in over his skis. And ultimately what he did was he developed a niche where he was willing to pick up the phone and call older owners of properties and just keep calling them until they were ready to sell.
Yeah.
He just kept calling and kept calling and kept calling. And today, I think he's in well over a dozen states with his assets. It became, this ambition and this dream. And then it got to the point where it was a little bit of a cage like we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
And then today he's broken it apart and he only does the things that he wants to do. And so it was a great story where he started off only in his backyard, working in, the New England area. Today he lives in San Diego and Las Vegas, and he does great stuff. But the key for him was sticking with it.
Yeah. One of the things that I've noticed is that the people who are most successful are the people who are most immune to hearing no.
Absolutely. Because you're going to hear a lot of that.
And you cannot be successful without hearing no. You get into the Hall of Fame by striking out or getting out 68% of the time.
That's true.
I mean, if you get on base just 34% of the time, you're the all-time batting average leader in Ty Cobb.
Right.
The best players who are in the Hall of Fame, 70% of the time, they fail.
It's true.
And in anything that you're doing,
Now,
you're going to
fail. I think Ty Cobb would argue with you and say that he's 36.7%, but that doesn't matter. That's really not critical.
Siri, what was Ty Cobb's lifetime batting average?
367.
341.
Here's an answer from ImagineSports.com.
We're both wrong. 366.
No, because it's a rounding up. They did it wrong.
No, they didn't round up.
367.
No, actually what happened is that Major League Baseball went back and they did find, and what was Ty Cobb's record that Pete Rose broke?
4,192 hits. 191 hits.
191. Here's the thing. They actually just went back and redid the records, and they found that in the box scores, they attributed to Ty Cobb too many hits. He actually only had 3,188. So Pete Rose had actually broken the record a few games before.
Well, and Charlie Hustle is about ready to get into the Hall of Fame.
Charlie Hustle.
So it's really about hustle,
but here's
the
thing with Charlie Hustle. His side hustle was gambling, and it bit him in the ass, right? Well, he's a great manager, great ball player, but he gets the side hustle of gambling. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes your side hustle can go sideways.
And it can bite you in the ass.
And it can bite you in the ass.
And it can undermine the thing that you originally did. I mean, he worked his entire life to get his way into the Hall of Fame.
Right.
And in the end, he is going to probably get in posthumously, which is great.
Justice for Pete Rose, sure.
Right? He deserves it. I mean, he's earned it. Everybody gets it. He only bet on his team to win,
Right.
which most of us would say, well, how is that even a thing that's a problem?
Yeah, he's just a confident guy.
But the idea is, like you said, your side hustle can become really toxic.
Sure.
And so what you want to do is you want to make sure that you are doing it for the right reasons and that you're getting into something that you understand. You're not just following the crowd. You're not just herd mentality. And this is, because I remember, look, 15 years ago, everybody was doing eBay.
Yeah.
Right. And then it was, hey, well, everybody's going to do something on Amazon. And then everybody's going to do something with AI. Well, look, you're always chasing that holy grail.
Sure.
But in the end, everybody's going to be a TikTok influencer. But in the end, your
Follow
side
us
hustle,
on TikTok, by the way, at Jay Scott Shield.
if you can.
Yeah.
Right? If you caught into that sort of platform.
You just go ahead and do it. It's okay.
All right. Well, I do it. That algorithm knows me inside and out, to be honest with you.
Do you want to share algorithms and see what comes up?
I'll do it.
All right.
I'll do it.
All right. So I got NFL sports uniform concepts. That's
All right,
my first.
my first one's 9-figure entrepreneur. Take my cash, take my billionaires, take my
Son of a bitch. That's why you're more successful. Yours is entrepreneurs, mine is football concepts.
Get what's yours through Social Security.
All right. This is...
How to erase 20 years. 52-year-old looking 35.
I got Walter Goggins dancing and playing piano. And then I got the 1987 Cleveland Indians roster. And
Trump
then
and ICE inflame LA, so political, social commentary.
Liam Gallagher from Oasis calling someone a dickhead.
Prophecy of Christ in World News 2025.
Here's my buddy who owns boltsandnuts.com, which is one of the largest fasteners distributors.
U.S. just passed a groundbreaking bill to replace the FedNow system and next generation payment network.
How to play guitar like Jimi Hendrix.
That's a good one. I
Son
wish
of a
I had
bitch,
that
dude,
one.
I'm wasting my time.
You know, I'm telling you.
But not really, a lot of this stuff plays into my side hustles, right?
Well, and my side hustles too, because
Right.
what we're talking about is how we support the people around us. What you're talking about is diversity of education and
Sure.
understanding and giving us that further reach than we get on our own. And so one of the things that we're talking about is I think your side hustle needs to be somewhat aligned with what you're doing. Right?
Yeah,
If it's
yeah.
not aligned, if it's this total 180 degree and you're one person at during the day, and then you got to go into the phone booth and change into your
Yeah, I'm a
your
data ana-
leotard and your cape. Now all of a sudden it's like, look, I'm living this complete dichotomy.
So you're saying that you don't want to, I don't know, spend your day as a data analyst and then by evening, at your 9 to 5, you're a data analyst, and 5 to 9, you're selling pizza in a cup?
Yeah, it's kind of tough, right?
Right.
I mean, well, but he did run the other pizza in a cup guy out of business.
He
so
did.
He's got something.
Well,
working
maybe
there.
he's using his data analytical skills to say, look, these are the best corners and this is the best, cup to pizza ratio.
Well, he obviously has that.
Right. So, okay, that was a bad example because that was a good example of saying, how do you take what it is you're already doing? Because that's what I did. I was working for you and I was learning marketing. I was learning communications. I was learning all sorts of things.
And you build an incredible platform.
Yeah.
And here's the great part about it. We were transparent about it.
Yeah.
You're like, look, I'm working on this. This is what I'm doing. I'm like, hey, would you like to do it together? You're like, no, man, on this one, I think I want to try and build my own thing.
So, but you're taking the skills that you're cultivating in your 9 to 5 and you're using them to superpower your 5 to 9. Right?
Absolutely. No doubt about it. You have to do that because what's happening is you're getting the compound effect of the effort that you're putting into
That's
your
a great
primary
point.
hustle.
Yeah.
Right? So if you're totally squandering 80% of your time not building for the 20% that you eventually want to take over, you're missing the whole program.
Yeah. And I think that's a good point of compounding the things that you're learning. Like, look, if you're building mousetraps all day and you think of a way to build a better mousetrap, that's a good way to then jump over into a side hustle, right?
For sure.
If you work for a bank and you're learning about finances, start getting into investing. If you're a contractor and you're building properties and you understand, what it takes to renovate something, you're a prime example of someone who should be investing in properties, right?
Well, no doubt about it, because people don't really give themselves the credit for how smart, how talented they are. They
I do.
really don't. You do, and I love that about you. You're phenomenal
Yeah.
that way. And you should, right? Because in the end, that self-belief, that self-confidence is actually the thing that's going to carry you, because there's going to be so many moments of doubt. But the point that I'm trying to really drive home right now is the idea that you are already better than you think you are. And so if you can start to build upon those types of things, you're going to be able to act sooner rather than later, and you're already doing what you're probably good at. That's what people can monetize out of your skill set.
Sure.
So if they can monetize it, again, you're building their empire. If they're paying you $100,000 a year, you got to be earning 3 to 5 times that for them, or they can't justify the salary.
Right.
So wouldn't you like to make $300,000 to $500,000 for yourself? Sure. But can I take the risk? Can I build the platform? And that happens over just a little bit of time by putting those little investments of time, energy, effort, education, and dollars into something that's really going to be able to be that foundation upon which you build.
Yeah, give me some good examples of people who've been they've been in a band and then they put out a side album, as a solo artist, and they eventually become bigger as a solo artist
Yeah.
than, I don't know, like
Sting was one of my
Sting,
favorites.
right there you go, Police.
Super huge fan of the Police. They were awesome. They completely, just changed the mindset of what was
they're
going on.
the biggest band in the world.
They brought, at the time they were crushing it, #1 albums, could do anything they wanted, creative. They mashed up ska and punk and rock. And
Yep.
they eventually brought in like all kinds of crazy percussion through Stuart Copeland. I mean, truly one of the best bands. We've seen them together multiple times.
Yep.
But then when he broke out and did Dream of the Blue Turtles, he was able to do something he couldn't do with them. He had complete creative control. And he was so successful at it that he never went back to the most successful rock band of its era.
Because it was more satisfying because he could do what he was already doing, built out the platform that he established in his 9 to 5,
Yeah.
and then was able to then do exactly what he wanted at his own pace.
Now,
And
I think some of that had to do with the fact that Stuart Copeland chased him down a hallway and beat his ass. That was part of it. It was like, all right, well, you know what? Let's see how well your percussion will
Yeah.
feed your family without me singing.
Stuart Copeland's done all right.
Yeah, but he hasn't done what Sting did.
Well, Sting owns vineyards in France, right? There's a difference.
Well, he's also tantric.
Yeah, well, he is tantric. But,
I mean,
I think that just shows a willing of someone to be able to.
No, that's a
delay-
good side hustle.
Right? Yeah, tantric.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, he's able to wait off on the payoff.
over and over and over again to get a better result.
There you go.
And that's really what it is. You got to stave off that instant gratification
How's that everyone knows that about Sting, that he does the tantric sex thing?
because that's part of his brand. That's what makes being an old, lithe yoga master attractive. It's appealing because other than that, who wants to sit in one pose for 3 hours?
Sting?
Right.
Okay. Whatever. All right, now this is getting off the rails.
Yeah,
right?
I get it.
And
We
that's
won't-
fine.
we won't keep all of this,
I'm
I'm
going to
sure.
reel this back in before we start talking about
So the side
Sting's
hustle
sex
that
life.
makes you more successful. So there's another guy that I worked with. He's a great friend. He's a partner of mine. He actually speaks and teaches with us now as well. He's kind of done more isolated market.
Okay.
So, he's in South Florida. He's got properties, really South Florida and Georgia. That's really the only place he's really, truly invested. He's done a couple of things outside with some other folks, but that's his
There's
his
parts
main
of Georgia that are honorary Florida.
market. Yeah, for sure. Most of it.
Yeah, I mean,
right?
Jacksonville's the
anything
capital.
worth going to.
Jacksonville's the capital of South Georgia.
Must be,
There it is.
right? I mean, certainly not Macon.
No, Macon's a fine city, though.
It is. It's great.
For all the people out
Augusta's
there.
good.
I grew up in Augusta.
I love Augusta.
That's great.
Right. If you haven't been to Amen Corner, you should go.
Yeah.
So the idea was he was killing it in insurance. And he was down in South Florida, which is the mecca of life insurance. Everybody's made money, sells their company, goes down to South Florida. They start making money, and they start to think about, well, what's going to happen when I die? I want to die spending my last dollar. But what about the people that I love or that are expecting something from me? So they do that through life insurance. And he had developed a radio program, and he had got all these other things going. But it's a fickle market, right?
Yep.
It's a very fickle market, and people do it and they don't do it, and you could chase people forever. So, as a side hustle, he went and saw me speak. We did an event in 2006. He didn't even act on it for 5 years, and then he came to me. And he's like, "Look," he goes, "I got about 20 rental houses in really rough neighborhoods in Georgia." Specifically around Atlanta. He's like, "I'd like to get out of this. I'm tied into it with a family member, but I want to be your most successful commercial client ever." And I said, "Great, don't quit. Let's stick together. Let's talk about it." And today he is. He's done almost $700 million worth of transactions. He's done
Jeez.
amazing stuff.
I know exactly who you're talking about. He's a great guy.
Yeah, great guy. And he's got an Ivy League staff that works for him. He's high school educated, but he's a bootstrap guy who did it on his own and brought it up. And so you talk about these case studies about how this came. And so he was in finance. He understood it because
Sure.
he was in insurance. But it was, he's there to get the premium renewal and to get that residual income. And I showed him, well, you get that residual income every single month. Not
Yeah.
once a year when they renew the premium, but every single month. And he loved that. And what ended up happening was he started off in multifamily, got into Class C. It was a train wreck. He experienced, fires and violence and, people driving through buildings and people dying in buildings. And I tried to encourage him. Class C wasn't going to work, but he got out. He got out quick. And then he found a niche in pure commercial real estate. He did retail, he did small bay industrial, and today he lives this incredible lifestyle when back then he was kind of struggling to become somebody.
One of the things is that dude was one of my side hustles
Yeah.
because he was coming up and he's trying to these properties and he's like, I need someone to help me build a website. I'm like, I can help you out with that. And I side hustled with him. And that's one of the things now where I have a company that develops websites.
And you help people achieve their
I
dreams.
help people build websites. And that's okay, here's an opportunity.
Will you build my site? How many times? All of
5,
them?
6, yeah. And so it's like, okay, well, here's something you're good at. Here's opportunities. And I think, a side hustle really is the nexus between a skill set and an opportunity.
Well, and if you're young right now, there's this bridge. There's this bridge in technology. There's a lot of folks, my age and older, right, who are out there and they're like, look, I really want to do this. I want to get engaged with AI. I want to get more social platform going. I want to maybe, get my message out there. But what they can't do is they can't catch up on technology. Once technology kind of passes you by, it's moving so fast you never catch back up. But you can tap younger folks, and younger folks can seek out older folks who are already empowered to create these powerful alliances, and they already exist in your life. So one of the things that I always tell you to do is if you're doing a side hustle, what 20 people would you have to reach out to, talk to, or convince that you had the tools to grow with if you wanted to achieve that in a fraction of your current time? Because if you do it on your own steam, I got to tell you guys, it takes too long. But if you do it, whether it's through collaboration, through education, through plugging into a network, or even just imagining who, and where in your own network you should go, I can tell you what, the acceleration of that it's so powerful.
Here's one of the good tips that I got about doing side hustles, right? And this goes for anybody.
You first, then I do have a question.
And this is a really practical one. Is create an LLC, create an S corp.
Yeah.
You're going to be running your side hustle out of your house, right?
Sure.
Which means typically they're going to allow 20% of that to be written off. So that's going to be of, well, your rent. It's going to be of your water, your electricity, your power. It's going to be of your internet bill. It's going to be your cell phones. It's going to be your car. Get your car under your side hustle LLC. Right there, a lot of times, just the tax savings that you're going to be able to generate from that is one of the reasons to even have a side hustle.
For sure.
That's a huge thing that a lot of people who have a side hustle forget. And it's a legitimate thing. You're not going to get in trouble. That is what that kind of entity exists for.
Well, exactly, and even beyond what you were just pointing them towards, the idea that just creating an entity, an LLC, a separate entity from you, that you take dollars and put in, spins off losses that cover shelters. Forget about maybe you don't office out of your own home, and maybe you don't want to take that because
and you're taxed at a different rate and everything.
Yeah, that could be fairly highly scrutinized. That's one of the things that the IRS looks at a lot. But the concept that you have a separate entity to build on, and you're building credit in another entity that you can really manage well, that is going to have rapid borrowing power. And if you get a fixed asset into that entity, now all of a sudden you're on a whole nother level. And it gives you the ability to shelter that W-2 income that so many people are reliant upon and quite honestly are scared of losing.
Right. You know, and look.
So when you were doing your side hustle, let me ask you a question, because you've been peppering me with some great stuff. When you got involved in your side hustle, I mean, you had a fairly young family.
Sure.
Right? And you had a great career, and it was taking up a lot of time. How much time did you decide that you wanted to put into it? And what resources were you able to leverage from your active career to being able to go ahead and really get that started?
Feels accusatory.
Oh, it's not.
I'm joking. You're like, hey, well, son of a bitch, were you moonlighting on my dime? No.
I knew you were, and I approved of it. I was so proud of what you were doing, but
typically what I found is, for me, side hustles, and any of the side hustles I've ever done, it's usually an hour in the morning and an hour in the evening.
Yeah.
And it's, look, get up an hour earlier, stay up an hour later. Look, if you want to be successful, you're going to have to put in a little extra work. And 2 hours a day, just about any side hustle is going to get you tremendous progress.
Yeah, it's about 8% of your available time.
And look, I made it enjoyable. I did my side hustle in my morning with my coffee for an hour, and then in the evening I'd have a glass of wine for an hour.
You put off that algorithm for another hour.
That's it. And that's exactly, I think, what has kind of worked. I mean, and you can replace, like dead, doom scrolling on your phone for an hour. People do it all the time. It's enjoyable. Give that up for a month and spend that exact hour doing something to make progress every day towards something you want to do.
Towards one goal. One outcome. One goal, one outcome. Because we talk about, we've got all of these different things that we do, but it wasn't always that way. I mean, it was, you add one at a time. Maybe you got a couple of plates spinning.
Sure.
Right? But the idea is there's one that's going to rise to the top that says, this is where my time is going to be most productive.
I've got something that I saved the other day, and I think this is a really cool thing, especially because a lot of these people who are listening to this and have side hustles, they've got an entrepreneurial spirit, and they're the people who want to go out. And I saw this, and it was this. It's the 8 + 8 + 8 rule. 8 hours for you, which is your work, your hobbies, and your friends. 8 hours of laser-focused work. 8 hours of that, and then 8 hours of sleep. That's the 8-8-8 rule. Then there's the 1-3-5 rule. Make one massive goal that scares you. Establish 3 key tactics and tasks that will move you forward, and then get 5 quick wins towards those 3 tasks.
Yeah, because that'll help you build that momentum.
10-minute rule. Work in 10-minute bursts on your side hustle of intense focus. 10 minutes where you are scribbling, writing, sawing, hacking, boxing, whatever it is.
Well, that's the deal.
And then take 2 minutes to stop. And then go back out of the 10. And then take 2 minutes to stop. But when you're working for that 10 minutes, you are so laser focused, you are accomplishing something.
Well, what I've found is that it's that 5 or 10 minute phone call, that interaction, that outreach that nobody gets the courage up to actually do.
Sure.
They'll spend 2 hours cleaning their desk. They'll talk to somebody. They'll design a logo. They'll come up with the name of their company, which, by the way, I feel is very important. Get a company name that you love,
it real.
Great logo, something that you're proud of, something that you can get behind, something that inspires you. But stop monkeying around. You really got to get out of your own way, and you got to do the hard thing. So what I always do is when I look at my list, whatever it is, and it's always endless. It's always more than I can ever get to, between social media and phones and texts and emails and all the other stuff and all the interpersonal demands that people have on you, all the clients I coach. I look at what's out there and I look at the thing that's going to get me the top 3 things that are going to get me the results today. And every other thing almost can be leveraged out to somebody else to do it for me. But there are 3 things that only I can do. If I do them, I'm going to do them better than anybody else. And in some instances, there's only 3 things a month. I did those already. My whole month is at my discretion. And that's what people miss, is that taking action in the moment, whether it's your main hustle, whether it's side hustle A, all the way down to side hustle Z, the key for me is don't let your dreams die. Focus on what inspires you, because those dreams that have been put in your heart by your creator, by the universe, by God, whatever it is, whatever your belief system is, those are there because those are clues that that's where you're supposed to serve. And if you'll serve with an open heart and you will really give your best, you will absolutely not be denied of an amazing destiny.
That's right.
But so many people are afraid to do the big thing, that they do all the little things and the big thing gets undone. And I've done it myself. I've squandered amazing opportunities, good relationships. Like,
That's a great point.
I had a meeting and I knew I was going to be there on time and I was ready. And all of a sudden, 45 minutes late, they're not even going to take my meeting, right?
Yep.
And why did I do that? It's self-sabotage.
Yeah. I know that. I definitely know that. Like, look, if I would just answer my emails at an appropriate time, I'd probably have 10 times the wealth I do.
For sure.
If I would just have that diligence, right?
But there's only so much you're willing to do, right?
Right. And look, and again, your side hustle can submarine your life. You do not want to do this at the expense of your family, of your relationships, of your health, or even of your primary income, right? You have to be a little bit discerning on how you approach this, right?
Yeah, you got to sequester it. It's got to be corralled in a way that gives you discretion as to when you visit that box, right? We always talk about how, women are like a plate of spaghetti where it's all connected.
Yeah.
And men are like waffles, right?
Yeah.
Every waffle has its own singular task. And God forbid that those walls come down because men get completely shut down. So when you're in your side hustle box...
Even when I eat waffles, I cut it with the fork so the square is maintained.
Right, and the syrup doesn't leave the square.
Right, and if you cut down one of those squares, you just broken the walls, dude. That's like nuclear fission on a waffle level. It's bad.
Anarchy.
That's terrible. It's
Can't have
anarchy.
it.
And if we live in anarchy, what do we have?
Nothing. So in my mind, what you want to do is you want to keep that corralled in a way that allows you to visit it when you need to. And you don't want to put the demand in there where it's going to, like you said, steal from your family, your passion, your personal enjoyment, God forbid, your health. You've got to do this in a way that is organized, it is logical, and it's intentional, right? Intention. And that's where we always start from the end and we work back. We reverse engineer everything. What's my outcome? What do I need to do it? Who's already got my outcome? Who's got my outcome in spades? And then you model those folks. I mean, you are not reinventing the wheel. There's nothing new under the sun.
Right.
Now, you could add your own little spin to it. You can make it your own, have fun with it. You definitely need to have fun. If it's not enjoyable, you won't stick with it.
That's right.
But you put those couple of things together, and now all of a sudden you start to build a social circle who are in pursuit of the same outcome.
That's right.
And when you do that, now all of a sudden, like some of the things we've talked about before, now your circle of 5 are really empowering you. That's like 5 engines driving you.
Sure.
And you're sharing ideas and experiences. And so then your side hustle actually becomes your social circle. And when your side hustle becomes your social circle, now it can really become part of your identity. And now you've got that fulfillment that we talked about at the beginning.
It's all coming together, Pepper.
I love
It's
it.
all starting to come together. One of the other things, you asked me how much time. I said an hour in the morning, hour in the evening. Here's a simple rule that I think that everyone can follow. This is another one of those number rules. 90-90-1.
Yeah.
90 minutes for 90 days on one goal.
That's awesome.
You will absolutely shock yourself if you spend 90 dedicated minutes every day that's focused for 90 days in a row towards one goal. And that goal does not have to be that you solve all the problems. It could be even just one goal saying, hey, I need to establish what it is I'm doing for a side hustle. And you spend 90 days, 90 minutes a day determining what your side hustle wants to be. Whether, like Scott, I know you do film, you do energy, you do real estate, you have the cannabis, you do agriculture.
Education.
Finance,
software.
Software. You're doing all of that. That takes some discernment too. I would also say...
We got to learn how to say no.
Right.
You got to learn how to say no because there's so many people bringing you opportunities, especially when you achieve some level of success.
yeah.
But one of the things that I would say is whatever your construct is, whether it's that 888, whether it's the 531, whether it's the 9091,
Right.
or whether I've always modeled myself after my 7 moves to checkmate. I figured no matter how complex a task is, I want to break it down into 7 stages and 7 activities that I
Yes.
can do because it's manageable, right? That's when they designed telephone numbers. Right? They said people can remember 7 things, so keep it simple, stupid. Right? So I use the KISS model on 7 things, but whatever your construct is, like you said, stick with it consistently. And for me, it's been about simplicity, right? I could take this really complex topic and we could talk about all of these things on a settlement statement that require, 200 documents, and we could spend an hour on every topic. But when I broke down commercial real estate into, pick your target and choose your market. Go out there and develop a lead source. Figure out how you're going to evaluate them. Construct and present your offers. Put together your finances. Manage towards its execution, and then create your exit. That 7-step system has helped literally hundreds of thousands of people get involved in commercial real estate because they didn't worry about all of the other things that you're going to have to eventually get good at to really become the best of the best in whatever side hustle you go for.
That's 7 steps right there. That's gold. Give me those again. Let's talk about those and let's break those down just a little bit. So step 1.
Step 1 is you got to define your market and what you want to do. So choose your target.
Choose your target. Okay, that's step 1. And no matter what it is you're trying to do in any side hustle in your primary business, choose your target. What's your goal? Always, to get anywhere, you have to know where you're going.
That's it. If you don't have a destination, you can't start the journey.
All right, so that's number 1.
Number 2,
choose your target.
you got to go ahead and figure out how to get your lead sources coming. Where are you going to get your deal flow?
Find
so we said
opportunities.
build pipelines. Instead of doing one-offs, build a pipeline. So once you build a pipeline, the energy just flows. It just keeps coming at you. And there are so many ways to do it. You can do, you can develop relationships with brokers. You can develop, your online platform. You can go, join auction houses. There's so many ways to do it.
All right.
Then the third thing you want to do is you want to figure out how you sort the trash from the treasure, right? How are you going to evaluate your deals, right? And then the fourth thing is you're going to say, well, okay, if I find something that's a deal, what's an offer that I can present that I can actually accomplish, right? It doesn't matter what the seller wants. It doesn't matter what the bank wants. It's can I do it? So don't find deals. Don't be that dog that chases a car, and when you get the car, you can't do anything with it, right?
All right.
Then the fourth thing you want to do is present, structure that auction. So number 5 is you got to put together your capital stack, right? I can put $1,000 towards $1 million building. Okay, great. That's your limitation. Let's go ahead and engineer around that limitation.
Yep.
Means I'm going to need partners. Means I'm probably going to have to give away the majority of the deal. But if I find the deal and I can be boots on the ground and I can bring value to the opportunity, then I'll get my stake. And maybe next time I'll get even a bigger cut of the deal. And maybe next time after that, I won't need anybody.
Yep.
Then the sixth step is you got to execute on your strategy, whatever it was. I'm going to renovate it. I'm going to rehab it. I'm going to raise the rents. I'm going to change the use. I'm going to knock this building down. I'm going to put something else there. Whatever that is, you execute on your strategy. And then move 7 is called pathways to profit. How am I going to profit off of this deal? So if I need cash flow, then I got to get that cash flow going right away. If I want a big check, I get my exit. If I want to get some big money back, but I don't want to lose the asset, what I can do is I can deleverage it. I can bring in partners into a fully baked deal where I sell them cash flow and I put hundreds of thousands of tax-free dollars into my pocket right away. So that 7-step system, that 7 moves to checkmate.
Well, I wrote these down, and I was trying to simplify these because I wanted to really nail this. And I think this applies to anything in the world that you would want to do.
It really does.
Choose your target. Set your goal, find opportunities, evaluate those opportunities, take action or make an offer. 5, find how to fund it. 6, execute. And 7, profit. Right? I mean, that's as simple as anything can be. And, you look at something and it seems so insurmountable. Everything seems like Kilimanjaro. Everything seems like, dude, that's a big-ass hill to climb. But you got to take one step at a time.
A journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step, right?
Right.
Always has and always will.
Sometimes a journey of 1,000 miles starts with you falling on your face, right?
Usually it will.
But I mean, if you're let's just say you're 6 foot tall, you're 6 foot further than you were when you started, right?
That's true.
So
I'm not 6 foot tall, so
Okay,
I get 5 feet 7 inches.
you're 5
further.
foot nothing started than where you started, right? And that's fine too, or whatever it is. Or
No, and I think it makes a tremendous amount of sense what you're saying. And the idea is, look, even your side hustle may not work.
yeah.
Right? And if it never achieves that level where it can replace your current income, if you love it, you probably still do it. But if it's not something that really is serving you, you're at complete discretion to start over.
Yeah.
Right? This isn't terminal. Just get started. If it doesn't work out, you're fine. And in commercial real estate, maybe that first 50 offers doesn't get accepted. And I'm not trying to discourage you, but what I will tell you is if you really truly are identifying those targets, if you are really truly putting together lead sources, you're going to sort them out before you even make the offer. The deal metrics or the structure that will get accepted is actually the reason you'll make the offer. Not because I make more money, not because it's closer, not because it's easier, it's because I can do it. That's what's going to be the differentiator. And that happens so early in the process that when you get good at pre-screening, now what happens to me today is there's more opportunity coming at myself and most of my clients than they could ever handle.
Right.
So now what you're doing is you're just saying, well, hey, which opportunity do I want to pursue because there's so many good ones.
Now it just becomes opportunity cost at that point in your life, right?
And that's a wonderful place to be.
Yeah. You know where the word checkmate comes from?
Please.
It's from a Persian word.
Okay.
So, chess was a Persian Arabic game, right? And it comes from Shah, which, king.
Yep.
Shah Mat. The king is dead.
Nice.
So when you say checkmate, you're really talking back, etymologically back to the origins of the game chess to the king is dead, because that's the goal of the game.
That's the game.
And the name of the game here is profit, right?
Yep.
So let's go kill some kings and make some profit.
7 moves to checkmate, baby. And again, the idea is your 7 moves in your side hustle are going to be easily defined. You're going to be able to break it down into actionable steps. And that's really what it is. You got to eat the cow one burger at a time. Maybe you don't eat meat, but if you do, you can't eat the whole cow at once.
You got to eat the Brussels sprout one leaf at a time, whatever the analogy is.
If you're ever going to get that cow all the way through the system, you're going to need something to grease the skids.
One of the things that, you've been teaching the 7 moves to checkmate through your program and through your organization, Commercial Academy. So if you're listening, you can go to commercialacademy.com and see all the different programs Scott has to offer through Commercial Academy, whether it's training for commercial real estate, multifamily real estate, all sorts of investing things. He has really high level and elite coaching programs that people are incredibly diversified in the investments they're making, whether it's in energy, whether it's in finance and governmental things, really powerful. And then you can also go and see one of the live events that he offers and meet some of these people who are in the same shoes that you're in, right? Who are trying to find a side hustle that's going to really change their lives. And you're going to go and find thousands of like-minded people who are looking to make a massive and life-changing action in their life at the Commercial Academy. So go to commercialacademy.com and check that out and see all the different ways you can get involved with Scott here, because I've seen it firsthand. That has changed lives. It's changed people's lives. People have come to Scott looking for a side hustle, and they leave. Look, dude, I left working for you about 10 years ago. Yeah. And I come back, we hang out, and I see some of the people that I knew back then, and they were maybe a little bit more well-haired, maybe a little thinner. But I see them, and I'm like, these dudes and these women have absolutely crushed it. I've been gone for 10 years. I come back, and it's like going into the future and seeing like holy crap, these people have really done it. I've seen it work. I've seen the Commercial Academy change people's lives. I've seen your coaching.
And consistently for decades, right?
For decades. I mean.
And so it works no matter what's going on in the market, what's going on in the economy, because we have strategies that adapt to those. But what we've been able to accomplish because of technology, because of one of our side hustles, is we've been able to take that education, which you could only get in the room by spending, months and months and months coming back over and over and over again. And now this education is available to them online through the Commercial Hub to be able to get it and digest it over and over and over again, utilizing the very best and most sophisticated evaluation tools. So it really does most of it for them. But back when we got started, this was bootstrapped. This was something you had to do. You brought the calculator out, you brought the pencils out, you went and did your research. This information is now radically available. And so we've lowered the barrier to entry for your willingness to add this as a side hustle, so that you don't have to, commit, many tens of thousands of dollars. You can get started immediately. You don't have to wait till we've got an event in your part of the
You
woods.
can go to commercialhub.com and you could try a trial for free. And you can see if this will really change your life, and it absolutely does. So you can go to commercialhub.com and see this exciting new program that Scott's released. It really is revolutionary. It's packed with so many training elements, so much support. Look, if you're looking for a side hustle in real estate, there's nothing else out in the market that you want to approach than this. I promise you that much.
Well, thank you for that, because it really is about your execution. Your success is our success. And if you're not successful, then it hurts us. And so what we've done is we've focused on what would I have wanted 30 years ago when I got started that wasn't even technologically possible, and what elements could we add now to make that journey not only move faster in that time machine model,
Yep.
but how could we make it safer? How could we make it more comfortable? And how could we give you the tools and the support necessary so that when you come to an event, when you finally get to the live event stage of your journey, you're ready. You're not coming in hoping you figure it out. You already have the basics. You already understand. You speak the terminology. And you're ready to bring a deal that's already been scored. So
Yep.
we know before you get in the room that people want to help you with it rather than bringing something that's a waste of time and garbage. And now you got on a plane and you spend all this thing and everybody kills it the first sentence out of your mouth, which has happened in the past.
Which is good for you.
Well, it is. It's great. But, you'd love to save that time
Sure.
and show up with a winner out of the gate.
Yeah.
And that's really something that I'm so incredibly proud of. And it's one of the reasons why I decided to stick around for another decade, right?
Yeah.
Because we'd already done it. We've already made this happen, right?
Yep.
And we're not pompous and we're not full of ourselves, but we live a great life. It wasn't always this way, and
We worked real hard to be this lazy.
we really have.
All right. I mean, we get to do what we want when we want because of the side hustles that we've approached by doing the things that we know we're good at and the things we like doing.
Well, and our side hustles are our primary hustles today, right?
And it is. And I don't do anything I don't want to do ever in my life.
No, we manage our commitments, and we often talk about how much we regret to committing to things. 'Cause
Yeah.
now, based on integrity, we have to do something we don't want to do, but we
I do
didn't
that all
have
the
to do
time.
it in the first place.
I'll agree to do something like, you son of a bitch, future Ryan, you deal with this.
Yeah.
And then I look back and I curse past Ryan. I'm like, dude, I can't stand you.
Yeah, he's the
I'm
worst.
I'm so glad you no longer exist past Ryan and you're not lost to the turning of the sands of time.
It's true.
Because
Past
you-
Scott is a real bastard.
Because you made me agree to go out to have beers at 5 o'clock on a Wednesday. It's not something I wanted to do.
I always invite people over, and when they're
it's
on
the
their way,
worst.
I'm like,
It's the
how did I
worst.
get into this position?
Dude, I want a side hustle of people not coming to my house. That's the side hustle I want.
I will join you in that pursuit.
Well, you know what? Hey, we got a deal on that.
All right, that's
Although,
it.
that was a
How
weird
to
handshake.
inv-
Let's do that again. That was weird. There we go.
How do you invite people to your home and then not have them come?
That's a podcast.
On our next
people.
podcast
That's
episode.
right. All right. We'll see you all next week.
God bless.